Welcome. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the episode 2 of the Couchcasters podcast. If you'll notice, my co-host is a little bit lighter skinned this week, so I just want to welcome my buddy Cade to the show. Cade, thanks for stepping in
No
and
problem.
co-hosting with me today. I've known Cade for several years. We met at church here in Montgomery in the worship band, and now he's moved on to T-Town, and he's been holding the fort down up there. So he was gracious enough to join me tonight and help me co-host. So, Cade, thanks, bro. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Anytime, bro.
All right. So tonight, man, we're just going to dive right into SEC hoops. We got 4 games left for everybody in the regular season, and then we head into SEC tournament and then on to the postseason and the big dance for some teams, not everybody. But I think currently the SEC is pretty locked down for the top 4 seeds of Auburn, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee. I think pretty much have those top 4 locked. And then there's like a log jam of 8 teams after that fighting for anything else. We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams at 7-7 or 5 teams at 7-7. So a lot's going to be sorted out in the last 4 games for those 4 teams, Alabama included. That's who our main focus is going to be on tonight. We're going to talk a little bit of Auburn, a little bit Kentucky too, a little bit Tennessee, Arkansas, but we're mainly going to roll with Alabama because that's who Cade's a tier 1 Gump. I'm not quite there, but anyway, so yeah, Bama 7-7 coming off loss to Kentucky, tough one in Rupp Arena. The Rupparees were in full effect. I hate blaming refs for a loss because that obviously wasn't the reason we lost, but it was a huge factor. Anybody with eyeballs can see that. But we got a big one at Vandy tonight. What you thinking about Vandy tonight, Cade?
I feel good about the matchup, just team to team, but we've been so inconsistent on the road that it gives me a little bit of worry. But I feel like Nate's gonna light a fire under them boys, and we ought to win at least 3 of these last 4 on the way to the SEC tournament.
Yeah, I'm with you. That gym at Vanderbilt has been like an Alabama Achilles heel for years. I mean, years I've been watching us get slaughtered in that gym. And those stupid benches underneath the goals, like, God, it drives me nuts, man. But it's
they've got talent
when it works.
They've got talent too. I mean,
yeah,
Pippen's nasty with it.
His nose too. He got his daddy's nose.
Oh yeah, I don't know if he's got quite his daddy's talent, but he's pretty good in the college game.
Almost. Is he what year is he?
I'm not real sure. I'm pretty sure he's draft eligible. He's
at least a sophomore because he's on the squad last year.
He's a junior.
Okay. Yeah, he's definitely going to get himself drafted this year, I think. Although I don't know why Vandy's had such a struggle. I mean, they got good players. They've beaten some good teams, but
the SEC's a bloodbath this year, man. I mean, you said, 5 teams at 7-7, and then 4 teams at the top. Like, all but 3 or 4 teams in the conference are good basketball teams.
Right.
And I mean, when you got to play on the road in some of these environments, even get teams you should on paper be better than, I mean, sometimes it's a struggle.
Yeah. And Bama certainly had their struggles on the road. I think we're 2-6 away from the airplane hangar.
Yeah. Hey, we got a new arena coming.
Although you've been to a couple games this year, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I was at the first 4 home games.
Okay, so one of those games was pretty good. I remember you texting me talking about how lit Coleman was that night. I can't remember what game that was. It was some game early in the year, I guess. But I remember you telling me how lit Coleman was. But
it may have been the Oakland game.
Yeah, and I think the Baylor game was pretty lit too.
Yeah,
that's what kills me about this team is, it's like they play to the level of their competition. The team that beat Baylor, beat Gonzaga, beat Houston, lost to Georgia.
It doesn't make sense.
Georgia has 1 conference win. It was us.
The number one sign of a young team, an inexperienced team, is inconsistency, and that is exactly what this team is. They're super young. We've lost quite a bit of talent to the NBA in the last couple of years, and people graduating out. And we're playing a lot of freshmen and a lot of sophomores and a lot of people that haven't been in this environment and aren't very consistent with it yet. A lot of kids need another off season of training and growing up. But I'm a bit disappointed with some of our older guys that should be playing better.
Agreed. I completely concur with that. It's always difficult when you have that much turnover and when you lose. You know, as infuriating as John Petty was, he was a hustler on the floor. He played great defense, even when his shooting was erratic.
He'd get rebounds and he'd start
would
the
rebound
break
and he would defend his face off. And Herb, I mean, you can't say anything else about Herb Jones. I mean, his lack of offensive skill always made me concerned for his future in the NBA. But he's improved his offensive skill so much that he's earning good minutes in New Orleans. Like,
oh yeah,
real minutes, not
he started for most of the year. He has started for that team.
That's insane. I mean, that's crazy.
As a second round pick.
As a second rounder, I was very worried for his game translating in the NBA. I never was worried about his hustle and his rebounding, but I just thought if you don't have that much offensive skill, you're not going to have a very good career in the NBA. There's only so many guys that can just rebound and keep roster spots.
I mean,
in
but
this high flying age, but
he's
shut me up.
One of the best defenders in the NBA. And I mean, defense will take you a long way.
Completely agree.
There's not that many guys that can lock you up in the way that Herb Jones can.
He's made an NBA believer out of me. Of course, I was a believer in him here, but very worried about his transition to the league. But he's made an NBA believer out of me. I mean, his motor, we miss his motor.
Oh, yeah. It's a shame
we miss that alpha dog.
It's a shame the Pelicans aren't on national TV very much. If only Zion would stop playing hooky and come back.
He's like, I'm going to stay injured until they trade me to the Knicks. And then suddenly my knee is going to get better.
Literally. Then I'm going to lose 40 pounds and be the next LeBron.
And be the explosive player that everybody thinks I am.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Bama, LSU, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina are all tied at 7-7, all fighting for those 4 spots. Bama, we've got Vandy, South Carolina coming at 2 of our next 4, and LSU to close it out. So, I mean, 3 of our next 4 games are against those 7-7 teams. Well, except Vandy, they're 6-8. So 2 of our next 4 against those 7-7 teams. And, at LSU is going to be
that'll be a tough one to close the season.
That'll be a tough one. I'm actually going to that game. A coworker of mine is a huge LSU fan. He's got family that lives in Baton Rouge, so his brother's a big LSU booster, so he got us a couple of tickets to that game. So I'm gonna drive my sorry butt down to Baton Rouge and sit in LSU's arena, the Maravich Center.
I'm sure the crowd around you is gonna love you.
Oh yeah. Well, I asked him, I was like, do I need to low key not wear any Bama stuff, or maybe just like a hat, or maybe like a shirt just with an A on it or something? And he said, yeah, you should be fine. It's not like football. I went to a football game there, the Sean Alexander coming out party game in '96, when he went for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I was at that game, and we got rocks thrown at us. Yeah, you weren't born yet. That's aged me really tremendously. But we got rocks thrown at us leaving, and I wasn't even wearing Bama gear. But I wasn't wearing LSU gear, so they just assumed I was Bama. So we got rocks thrown at us, and we couldn't find our car. Nobody would tell us where our car was. So, I was like, screw you guys. I'm never coming back to this town ever again. But basketball, I'm hoping, is not going to be that big a deal. But
how long did it take you to
complain?
How long did it take you to wash the scent of hot dog off of you?
Still haven't. That was whenever 1996. So whenever that was. That's why I said I'd never go back.
25 years later.
25 years later, still scrubbing the pine tree perfume off. Yeah. So anyway, I told myself I'd never go back to that town for any sporting event. But my buddy I work with was like, "Hey man, I can get us tickets to that game if you want to go." So we're gonna head down that Friday night, spend the night down there, and then go to the game that Saturday morning. So
that'll be a good time.
It'll be a good time to see some live basketball. It's been a minute since I've been to a Alabama game in person. I think Grant was still the coach last game I went to.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've been through Grant, Avery, and now Nate. So
I got Grant's autograph when he was on Billy Donovan's staff with the Thunder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when me and my best friend drove out to Oklahoma City to boo Kevin Durant his first game back there as a Warrior, and Coach Grant was on Donovan's staff, and we were like the first ones in the door. Like we got there like 4 hours before tip off,
Oh,
and
nice.
we ran to the merchandise store, bought an autograph ball, and like ran down to like where people warming up would like run off and like do autographs and stuff. And Coach
Yeah.
Grant was walking by, and my best friend and I go, Coach Grant, Coach Grant. He looks up like, who the hell knows who I am? And he
This
comes
town.
he comes over to where we are, and we're like, yo, we're from Alabama, like Roll Tide. And he signs our Thunderball, Anthony Grant, Roll Tide.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was cool.
That's awesome, man. Considering we fired him, like that's cool that he was gracious like that. Is he as tall as he is on TV? Is he tall in person?
I mean, yeah, he's decently tall. I mean,
Yeah.
we were standing kind of like in the bleachers, so he was still kind of below us even when he signed the autograph. So it was hard to tell. We weren't like standing next to him, but
yeah, that's awesome that he signed Roll Tide though. How cool is that?
oh yeah, I still have that ball up there.
Well, if we're talking autographs, I went to Baumhauer's one night for Hey Coach. This was in spring of 2003, and I got a Bama coach to sign my hat, and then a month later he got fired for having a prostitute in his hotel room in Pensacola, and then a week after that I was in Pensacola for my sister-in-law's wedding, and we stayed at that hotel. And so I was like, God, if I'd have been a week earlier, I'd have been right in the middle of that whole thing.
That would have been awesome.
That'd have been epic. But I got that Bama hat with Mike Price's autograph right here on the bill at Baumhauer's
awesome.
Wings. And, and at my desk at work.
I bet that's worth some money.
And then at my desk at work, when Franchione was here and he was on the upswing, we all thought that, we had the answer. Arby's did those bobbleheads of him and Tuberville, and I got the bobblehead of Franchione. And then when he quit, everybody was using them as on the golf tees, and they were burning them and all that stuff. But I kept mine in the box just because I thought it'd be a funny story. So I still have that Franchione bobblehead in the box from Arby's. It's at my desk at work in the little cabinet. So every now and then, I'll pull it out and be like, "Yeah, I still got one of these things. What you think?" So,
and now Arby's is like a meme for Alabama basketball every time they lose.
Every time they lose,
every time they lose, it's Arby's night.
It's Arby's night. I'm telling you, the most entertaining thing I've done this season is getting those Twitter Spaces with Hunter Johnson, and Christian Spikes.
Had quite a few drinks with him. We frequent the same bars, and
you and Hunter.
He and I have kind of become friends.
Man, he cracks me up.
Hilarious.
He cracks me up, and then when he gets in those Twitter Spaces after those games that Christian hosts and people start burning, man, I've been thoroughly entertained in those Twitter Spaces.
Spaces
with those guys.
Best thing Twitter has done in years.
They're epic. They are epic.
Amazing content.
And then somebody will start dropping F-bombs, and man, I'll just lose it just because they're so ticked off about how the game went, and they'll just start dropping F-bombs left and right, and I'm just laughing hysterically just because I can. So those Twitter Spaces are hysterical for post Bama games, and anyway, so. That's kind of like what I do when I watch the Bama game, and then I immediately hit Twitter to see if the space is launched yet, see when it is, and then I'll keep checking it to see if it does, hoping those same cats are in there and they got a little bit of liquid flowing in them, and we go from there.
The comedy scope of the loss. Hunter was at Innisfree for the Kentucky game, and he was like, "I'm taking a shot for every 3 we make." you gonna die in the first half.
He must have been hammered in the first 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, that first half he was down bad. The second half he probably sobered up a little bit.
Sobered up real quick. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was Deion Sanders through my buddy's living room that first 6 minutes of that game when those shots were falling. I was like, man, finally. Start the game 8 for 10 from 3. I'm like, finally, we got this thing going. Finally, we hit a shooting night. And then they go like, 6 for 28 after that, or wind up 14 for 40 for the game.
And just couldn't play any defense. Like, couldn't stop anybody.
Bro.
Pushed around down low, getting pushed around on the perimeter, and then threes drained in your face. Like,
in your face, like right in your grill.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? And, dude, when you go to Rupp and score 81 points, you should win that game. You should win a game on the road. If you score 81 points on the road, you should win that game if you could defend anyone. But, I mean, I think they scored on like 18 straight possessions, 17 or 18 possessions in a row. Kentucky scored. And Nate refuses to call timeout. He won't do it.
He refuses to call timeout. But the thing about Kentucky mainly played 5 players in that game. They had like the fewest minutes total they had for any player was like 36. Like, they played the same 5 players the whole game. Yeah, Sheboy played 36 minutes, and that was the least of anyone on their team. Toppin played 40, Brooks played 37, Grady played 39, and Mitz played 39. They left the same players in that whole game.
And we couldn't stop anyone.
Yeah, I mean, if it's working, don't change anything. But
I mean, what are you supposed to do when the guy's hitting threes in your face? You know, I mean, Ellis has got his hand in his face, and banking in threes from as a shot clock expired.
Yeah,
you know, running jump shots, banking in jump shots as a shot clock expired. You're just shaking your head like, I mean, what is happening here?
They hit some absolutely back-breaking threes in that second half.
Literal back-breaking, literal. Where I mean, I just slouched down in the chair, and you're just like, again. Okay, there's the one, and then they hit another one. You're like, again, how you hit 3 of these in a row? And we couldn't stop anyone. They couldn't stop anyone. No stops. And then when Keon stole that ball at half court, and he could have gone down and dunked it and made it a 5-point game. That was our shot. Like, that was the shot. And then he steals it and fumbles it and gets it stolen back. Bang, they hit a 3. It goes. That was a 5-point swing. We went from being down 5 with that breakaway to down 10 with that 3. And I just was brutal. Like, when he stole that ball, that split second, I was going, that's it. That's the stop we needed. Now we're down to 5, and we got him. We got momentum. We got him. You know, we're landing a couple body shots here. This is a shot. And then he muffed it, and down went the other way, and bang, 3-pointer.
And we really didn't play bad in the second half. It's just Kentucky was hitting literally everything they threw up. And if they missed it, Sheboy was getting bored, and then they were making the second shot. Like
tip, put back.
Yeah.
I mean, tip, put back. And then we missed a ton by the rim. I mean, I get so aggravated at Bediako and Gurley when they go soft at the rim, like when they pump fake 4 times and then they try to 2-hand drop it up in there, and I'm screaming like,
you're 7 feet tall, throw it down,
like rip the rim off, like angrily, like get angry and dunk the out of the ball. Like, what are you going up soft for? Stop going up so soft. Like they're almost anticipating the contact. So they're trying to alter their shot to absorb the contact, and then they don't get contact, and it's a funky-looking shot, and it rims off.
Exactly. If you just go up and make them foul you, like you're getting 2 points if you make it. You're getting 3 if they foul you and you make your free throw, or at the worst case scenario, you get 2 free throws. Like,
go up angry. Like, take the ball and be pissed off, and be like, the rim said something about your mama. So go up there and rip the son of a bitch off the backboard. I mean, it's just like, But
Shaq on that thing.
Yes, just pull it off. I mean, just do something. Get angry. Play angry when you get down there. That's why I'm yelling at JD. When you drive angry. Like, cup that ball like you did with Kessler. Whatever you saw that night when Kessler was standing there, whatever you saw that told you, man, I'm about to hammer this on this dude. Get there. Find that place.
Like that scene from The Waterboy where Adam Sandler's character first figures it out. Like, Gatorade.
Yes. Yes.
Water sucks. It really, really sucks.
What does the kicker say when he leans over there and he's going along the line, and then he sees that guy and he goes, there's my bitch. And then he kicks it at him. That's what I need JD to do. Find the guy and be like, that's him. And I'm taking him right now. Exactly. Instead of the old jump kick out, or half the time they'll jump in the air and not know where they're going to go with it, and it winds up being a pass back to the middle and
a
turnover the other way.
Exactly,
going the other way, or JD will dribble over here and he'll cut back and decide, and he'll just like lazily bounce it, going the other way. Like
if you're gonna go up with the ball, you got to go up with a plan. Like you either got to go up knowing, okay, I'm gonna kick it to the guy in the corner for a 3, or I'm about to yam it on this man's head. Like one or the other. You can't go up and try and figure it out on the way.
No, decide before you go. And when Quinterly is good, he already knows. As soon as he decides he's driving, he already knows exactly what he's doing. And he's got that high bank, so because they're all going to go up and try to swat it, and he knows it. So he just jelly fams it high off the glass, and down it goes. Exactly. And it's a perfect shot because they commit to block. They think, I'm going to block this shot. They get one every now and then.
He goes so high off the glass, it's hard to block.
You can't do it. Right. And then if it doesn't go in, you've got a couple guys to clean it up if they're not ball watching. If they're boxing out, if you look at Gurley and Bediaka, they're not boxing out. Tashibwe is just running in there and going tip to himself because they're not boxing him out. They're standing there flat-footed.
Generally, we are a good offensive rebounding team, but when the team that we're playing has a really good offensive rebounder like Sheboy is the best in the country at that. Absolutely. He's probably going to be the player of the year in college basketball.
It's earned.
Absolutely. That dude is an absolute animal in the paint.
He's a beast.
But you got to at least try and box that man out. You can't just let him do what he wants.
Yeah, make him earn it. Make him earn it. But if you're just going to stand there flat-footed looking up at the rim, he's going to tip it, and then he'll be in his 2 hands in no time.
Exactly.
And that happened several times in that game. And his motor is just relentless. His motor reminds me of Giannis. The way he just never stops. No matter what part of the game his motor he's wide open. He doesn't look like he fatigues.
And he's super raw. He doesn't have the skill, but man, his mid-range jumper, he was killing us in the mid-range. For him to have only been playing basketball for a few years, coming straight out of Africa, that man, if he can develop a jump shot, will be nasty at the next level. I think he's going to stay another year. He just finally got his NIL stuff figured out, and he's going to be a millionaire very, very quickly off of NIL stuff. He's moving his mom to the States from Africa. He might stay. He might stay in college another year. I'm almost positive because he's not projected to go in the first round. But if he can develop in that skill, that man will be a monster at the next
Please
level.
Go to the NBA. I don't want to, because we're going to have to play Kentucky twice next year, and in the tournament. Every year we get Kentucky twice, and then we'll get him in week 2 of the SEC tournament or game 2 of the SEC every time. So please go to the NBA. Please.
We have 2 McDonald's All-Americans coming in next year, and we'll have Nimari Burnett coming back off of his ACL. Next year, I believe, will be better for Alabama basketball. I feel like this year was kind of a little, considering how good last year was and the expectations that we had. But this team is so young.
So young. Yeah, I think Langston Wilson, reneging on his commitment and going somewhere else, I think that would have helped us just in the post, just have another body, because Chiku and Ambrose Hilton are no minute guys.
Yeah, Chiku gets 0 minutes. He played in 1 non-conference game that I can remember, and it was the last 2 or 3 minutes while I was there, and didn't really.
Yeah. And I've been saying all year, couldn't Ambrose Hilton just go in and give you a couple of rebounds or even a couple of fouls, even if he uses up a couple of fouls, just to give somebody a blow? But those 2 are completely out of the rotation, completely. They're down there with Britton Johnson and all those guys.
Both 7 feet tall. How can you be 7 feet tall and not get minutes? Are you that bad? I'm
wondering if Chiku's going to portal, or if he knows, coming off an Achilles, not having a ton of basketball in his history. If this is part of what he knew he was going to be getting in.
From what I've heard from insiders here in town, it's his attitude. But if he can get that figured out in the next year and will actually get minutes, I feel like he can contribute to this team. You're a 7-footer that can actually shoot threes, but
that would help.
He's got to get his attitude right for Nate to play him.
But he seems like when you see him on the bench during games, he looks like he's into it and like
I mean, yeah, he's
has
one of
accepted
the
his role.
yeah, he's the bench mob. He's in there cheering for
The
people,
bench mob.
dapping them up when they come off. I mean,
Bench mob.
somebody hits a three, he's out there dancing like he gets excited. I
Yeah.
mean, he seems like he's bought in, but I don't know. I mean, Nate's not playing him for a reason.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason. Although if he can play defense, he might be getting some significant minutes now because Nate put it out there. He's like, if you ain't playing defense, got nothing for you.
Exactly.
Got nothing for you. And I it's about time. I mean, you know, trust me, Nate is our guy. I'm not thinking Nate was the wrong hire, but there are things about Nate that drive me nuts. The fact that he won't stop runs. You know, it was Kentucky's 13-0 run before Nate called the timeout. You know, if you remember earlier in the game, when Bama got within like 3, they hit a bucket, a 2 to get within 3. Cal called a timeout immediately, killed the momentum, and then Kentucky scored like 7, 8 in a row after that, coming out of that timeout. Like I know Nate wants them to play through those runs, but sometimes
you got to do something. Like you got to call your guys over and
just calm them down. If anything,
some strategy together. Exactly.
Well, and get the crowd out of it. Like, crowd's a big deal, and when they're hyped and yelling, it's hard to, you know, when you're on the road and a hostile crowd like that, when you're bringing the ball across the court, you know, you're not hearing the calls, you're not hearing stuff, and then, you know, we got 4 guys standing on the 3-point line while Quinterly's dribbling through his legs around his back and everything. I mean,
and I mean, Rupp is probably the loudest stadium in the SEC. Like, I mean, that was a legitimate road crowd.
I agree with that. 100%.
In the second half, when Grady was hitting those threes that just should not have gone in, that place was absolutely rocking.
Dude, I was getting peed off watching Grady rain those dang threes, man. Like, at some point he's going to miss one, right? Bust.
Thought.
The next one. Oh, he just shot that from 30. There's no way. And Keon was all over him. Okay, that was a bad shot. Swish.
Dude looked like the next Steph Curry out there. Like, I
think he had like 6 points in Tuscaloosa when we played him too. I mean, he had nothing in that game in Tuscaloosa.
Because he was coming off the bench. They had Ty and all the other guys in front of him. And, I mean, but that just goes to show the depth of Kentucky's talent.
They're deep. And if Tshiebwe plays like that, they're going to be a problem in the tournament. Because nobody's got a big like that. I mean, Kessler for Auburn is a very good big, leading shot blocker in the nation. He can really change games, but having a guy like Tshiebwe can kind of cancel him out.
Even if they play like Gonzaga, like Chet Holmgren's too skinny. I mean, he can.
Holmgren, gotta be kidding me. Bediako is schooling that dude. That tells you anything.
Holmgren's going to be a top 3 pick in the draft. I can go ahead and tell you. I mean, Alabama made him look bad, but that kid's legit. A 7-footer can stretch the floor like that. He's shooting over 50% from 3, like that.
Oh, is he?
Oh
man, that's tough.
Like
big guys that can shoot. That's tough.
Yeah.
Oh, God. What's the score you got up there?
Florida is up 3 on Arkansas. Arkansas is at the line. Make that 2. There's 12:48 to go in this game, and Florida is up 2 on Arkansas. What's going on in the rest of the SEC right now?
So Auburn's up a game on Kentucky, 2 games on Arkansas and Tennessee, and then Tennessee and Arkansas played in the last game of the year. So
Tennessee's murdering
3 and 4.
Tennessee's murdering Mizzou right now. 7:42 and 9:37 to go.
That's what good teams do. They beat Missouri.
This is in Como. We couldn't beat them in Como, so.
No, we could not. And at the time we lost to them, they were a sub 500 team.
Yeah. I don't know what it is with Missouri, man. Nate's struggled against Missouri. Even last year, I mean, Missouri beat us when we were, like, really good.
Yeah, that was the best team we've had in, 20 years last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we went to the Elite 8 with Kennedy Winston, but the 02 team I thought was better than that team.
Yeah.
So Tennessee is going to wax Missouri, so they'll move up. So if Arkansas loses, they'll be in 4th place. Tennessee move up to 3rd, and then Kentucky LSU play tomorrow night.
Yeah,
in Rupp Arena.
It's crazy to me that we got a win in the swamp early in the year. Auburn couldn't get there and get a win. Auburn hadn't won in the swamp in like 25 years.
I saw that. That shocked me. Man, they should have won that game Saturday. They had that game. They had an opportunity in that game.
Defense on them boys.
Sick defense.
It was like
7 seconds down by 1.
It was like 21-20 at the half or something. I was like, what is this high school score? I was like, we scored double in the first half of our game against Kentucky than they did in the first half. Like, that's crazy to me.
Florida was playing that when we played Kentucky the first time, they were just dribbling out the shot clock every possession down to 5 seconds left. A la Wimp Sanderson against the Loyola Marymount that year when they were scoring 120 a game. That ain't Gather's year. But
y'all ain't doing that against us.
I was shocked they lost that game. And then when they inbounded with 7 seconds left, I was like, all right, Willie Green's bringing it up. Just dish to Jabari Smith and let him get a shot because that's Kevin Durant 2.0, 6'10", can shoot from 30. Nobody's going to block his shot. But Green was doing all this other stuff and then got walled off.
Passing it to Kessler, and he can't handle it.
Yeah, that was such a ridiculous – how are you going to run a play where Jabari isn't even looked at? He didn't even look his direction.
They didn't get a shot off at the end of the first half or at the end of the game. Like, that was an elite defensive game plan that Florida had drawn up.
Absolutely. But I couldn't believe Jabari didn't even get run a screen, 6 screens or something, and just get him the ball with 3 seconds at least so he can at least get a shot off. Because that's going to be your number 1 pick. Exactly. No question in my mind. That's the number 1 pick. Poor guy's going to end up playing for the Orlando Magic.
No, I hope the lottery balls fall in our favor. I'm as big of a Bama guy as it gets, but I hope my Thunder can draft Jabari. That would kickstart our rebuild.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I'm not, I'm a big Bam, obviously, but I've been watching Auburn basketball for years. My dad and I used to go to games at Beard Eves because it was so easy to get tickets, and it was 30 minutes up the road to go to a college basketball game. So my dad and I would go all the time to Beard Eves, and then they built Auburn Arena, and me and my buddy went to a couple of Bama Auburn games at Auburn Arena. When you get tickets, you could walk up to the gate and get a ticket and sit wherever you wanted when they first built that place.
Can't do that anymore.
Oh, no more.
It's because they play in a Cracker Jack box with less than 10,000 seats. Now
that place gets loud.
Oh yeah, they're a top 5 team now. They sell.
You can't get in there for less than $300.
Oh yeah, any tickets to the Alabama Auburn game there were insane.
Last time we went up there, we bought some from a scalper, paid $300, and they were fake. So we got to the door. And he scanned them, and they were fake. And we were just like, man, we just were dejected. So we ended up going down to the Strip, finding some pizza joint on the Strip on Main Street there, or whatever that Sug Jordan. I don't even know the streets, but where Sky Bar is and stuff. We ended up finding a pizza joint there, and we just sat there. The 3 of us just sat there, ordered a pizza, a pitcher, and watched us get blown out by 25. But
I went and found that scalper and scalped him.
We walked around looking for that dude. We took about 6 laps around that place, just casual, close, and then further out just to see if we could catch him. But he took our $300 and dipped, or we never saw him. He stayed, a little bit ahead of us, but it wasn't because we didn't try to find him, because we went looking.
Oh yeah,
he was going to have 3 pissed off Bams coming at him.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. She gets. So yeah, but anyway, so Auburn's got Ole Miss tomorrow night. They should win that game at home, coming off a loss. They should win that game, maintain their game lead on Kentucky.
Ole Miss has been decent this year. They've just been struggling with injuries. Like if they were at full strength, they'd be a decent team, but they haven't.
Oh, really?
Been full,
okay.
They haven't been at full strength all year.
Man, injuries are just bugging teams down, man. I hate seeing that too. Football, obviously, if you're a BAM, football obviously was injuries played a big role in how that season turned out. But it's playing a huge effect on the basketball team. Namari Burnett going down, it was a big loss. I don't think anybody understands that doesn't really follow basketball like we do, understands what a big loss that was for this team. He was going to be huge for this team, and his knee going out, and It's like Chiku blowing his Achilles in practice last year. It's like all these non-contact injuries are driving me nuts. Basketball, football. God almighty, it's killing me, man. We're getting robbed.
It's like we're snake bit.
We're getting robbed of seeing elite athletes perform at the highest level because, Jameson catches a ball and rug and his knee explodes. Nobody hit him. He didn't cut. He didn't make a wicked cut. He just caught a ball and his knee blew up. OBJ in the Super Bowl. Reached down, caught a pass, his knee exploded. Like, I don't understand it.
It's
Dylan Moses, just a night practice in a shell and helmet. His knee explodes. It's like, guys are killing me here.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it goes to show how these sports are on your body.
Yeah, they are rough on your body. You're absolutely right about that. So Tennessee then plays at Mizzou. That's tonight, so they're blowing them out. We got Vandy here in about 22 minutes, and Arkansas, Florida are battling right now. The Rupp and LSU, or Kentucky LSU, play tomorrow night in Rupp. My buddy at work, big LSU guy at work, he's been more upset than anybody this year about the foul discrepancy between LSU games and their opponent.
LSU
Maybe they don't like Will Wade.
They play some defense, man. LSU, that team plays some defense. They'll get fouls called on them, but they play some nasty defense.
They do play some nasty. I'm not a Wilt Wade guy.
I don't either.
I think he's a dirtbag, but my buddy thinks Nate Oates is a scumbag for how the SEC tournament final ended last year when Nate was running off, telling him to get the F out of here. And of course, me going, that's the statue. If we ever win something in basketball and they put a statue of Nate out there, it's got to be him telling LSU to get the F out of the gym. That was the greatest Alabama basketball moment in my lifetime. Because I wasn't around the Wimp years, Hollywood Robinson and those guys. Of course, you weren't born yet, but I was living in Idaho, so I didn't know anything about that. But next to Antoine Petway hitting that shot in 0-2 against Florida at the buzzer, hitting that layup at the buzzer when we all charged the court, that was in 2002. I was at that game. I still have my ticket stub. It's framed in a I had a calendar that year of Daniel Moore paintings, and one of those Daniel Moores was Petway hitting that layup. So I cut it out of that calendar and framed it with my ticket stub for that game. It's hanging up in my office at work.
That's sick.
That was the most – I've been to a lot of football games, but that moment when Petway hit that layup, that was the single most hyped and excited I've ever been at a sporting event in my entire life that I was in attendance. I mean, when that layup went in, I leapt over the seat, the row seats in front of me. My shoe came off. So I didn't even know where my shoe was. So I'm out there on the court with one shoe on, hugging anybody I could. I didn't care. My buddy was there with me. He ran over to the Florida section and was basically Nate Oates in them. He was pointing at every single one of them, and he was throwing them out like an umpire. He was, you, F out of here, and you out of here. I mean, he was throwing everybody out. And I couldn't – it was just mass bedlam hysteria. I almost blacked out with excitement. I didn't even care about my shoe. I'll buy a new pair of shoes. I don't care. I ended up finding my shoe later. Once everything calmed down, I went back over there. I found my shoe later, but that was sick. And man, basketball is just – I love basketball.
Oh, so do I.
Man, basketball is just legit.
Speaking of LSU, shout out to Herb Jones's son, Trendon Watford, getting a contract for the rest of the year for the Blazers.
Oh, how about that, Trendon?
Big shout out to Herb Jones's son getting a contract.
I hope Trendon wished him a happy Father's Day in June. Same thing with Derek Stingley and Smitty. I'm hoping he sent him a nice Father's Day present.
Oh yeah,
along with every other DB that tried to cover Smitty. But I just like the Stingley because everybody hyped him like he was the greatest thing ever, and Smitty hung 440 and 4 touchdowns on him in 2 games.
Oh yeah,
numbers don't lie.
He saw how bad LSU was this year, and he was like, Do I want to play?
About half that team did.
Yeah.
Butte, Smitty, Eli Ricks, they're all like, yeah, this team sucks.
Eli was like, this team sucks so bad. I'm going to Alabama.
I'm going to Alabama. Done with it. Yeah, they may be better this year, though, because they're getting Miles Brennan back, and Butte's coming back, too. And, little Dancy Kelly's going to be there, so they'll be better.
Dancy he's a good coach, man. I mean, he won a lot of games at Notre Dame. Granted, their schedule was a little bit cupcakey, but I mean,
they will be better, I think, in football. I don't think they're gonna win a championship with him, but he'll be a threat. I think they'll be a threat with him.
It'll be like Jimbo at A&M. Like I don't think A&M's ever gonna get a national title with Jimbo, but
Perfect
they'll upset you every now and then, like A&M did with us this year. I mean, it's just another team to watch out for in the West. I don't feel like they're any more dangerous than Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss or.
Well, and the portal is going to even a lot of things out, because I was talking to a friend about this today. You know, if you look back at some of the good teams, Reuben Foster, Reggie Ragland, you know, those guys paid their dues. Special teams players, backups, then into the starting role. Nowadays, guys aren't starting, boom, they're portaling.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, heck, Blake Barnett quit after the first game. He got benched and they quit that Monday after the first game. Like,
he came in with a terrible attitude. I played high school ball with a guy that was roommates with him for his freshman year at Alabama.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like, we never saw that dude. He was like, all the football players were supposed to live in Bryant, like on campus, and like Barnett got an apartment like off campus and like was never around them. Like you could just tell he like thought way too highly of himself, and it makes sense that he didn't like have any success anywhere he went. I mean, he went to 3 different schools. He went to Arizona State, couldn't crack the field. Went to South Florida, had like 1 year where he was mid. Like, I mean, he was never going to make it into.
He was never anything. Well, he got beat out by Jalen Hurts, you know, and at that point, Jalen couldn't throw a lick. Not that he's much better with the Eagles, but
Jalen was great in college. I love Jalen Hurts. I mean,
he shouldn't have played over Tua's freshman year, but I get why Saban did that. But
he was saving Tua for the second half of the championship game.
He knew what he was doing.
Like he was like, let me make sure my fragile little Hawaiian boy does not get hurt sometime before January. Like,
Tua. I still maintain that we win that 2019 game with a healthy Tua, because he did throw for 404 touchdowns on one leg against the greatest team of all time in 2019 LSU, or so we've been told. But you know, it took 6 first-round NFL players in the greatest college season of all time to beat a one-legged quarterback by 5 points.
Yeah.
But don't get me started on that game either. The fumbling on the goal line when nobody touches you. I mean, I don't understand. But I still maintain that if we have a healthy Tua that year, we're running everybody out. I think we're going to LSU everybody if we have a healthy Tua that year, like LSU did to everybody when they just slaughtered everybody. Except I think Auburn played him close and we played him close. But I mean, they got in the playoffs and LSU just destroyed everything. I mean, it wasn't even fair.
I mean, Joe Burrow's a baller, man. I mean, there's a reason he took a team that got 2 or 3 wins last year all the way to the Super Bowl this year. I mean, that man's nasty with it.
He's a beast. And he's in my division. I'm a big Steeler fan in the NFL, so now he's in my division. So I get to deal with him twice a year now. God.
Who do you think the Steelers are going to get at quarterback to replace Big Ben?
Honestly, bro, I don't think they're going to get anybody. I really, honest to God, think they're going to go into next year with Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. I think they're hoping Dwayne Haskins gets it, wakes up one day and gets it. I don't think he ever will. But
that's never going to happen.
I think that's what they're hoping, because
they ought to draft Kenny Pickett. I mean,
he'll be gone by the time they pick, and they're not going to trade up that far to get him. I don't think he'll last to 20. And I don't think that the Steelers will trade up to 10 or 9 or 8 or whatever it'll take to get him. I think we're going to draft a bunch of linemen. They might bring in a Gardner Minshew type player. I don't think they're going to bring in Jimmy G. I think he's too expensive. They're not going to give.
Minshew could ball out for him if they can get Minshew. Minshew could ball out for the Steelers.
Yeah. Now my buddy Mercer that does the cast with me usually he's been saying that for months, that Minshew should be the guy till next year. And then the quarterbacks, I think, are going to be much better in the draft next year. So do you draft one then, or do you wait and, you know, Russ will be 1 year closer to being – I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, honest to God, man.
I mean, if Seattle's bad next year, Russ is out. Like,
yeah. I don't know what they're going to do. But they're saying if the season started today, we'd go with Mason Rudolph. Knowing the season doesn't start today, but I don't think there's any. I just don't see him pulling a trigger for any one of these hot quarterbacks that people are talking about. I don't think they're going to pay $20 million a year for Jimmy.
The Steelers could say bump what anybody thinks about us and be like, "Yo, let me go get Deshaun Watson." Like,
that's what I want. Now they got Flores. I'm like, all right. Whatever Houston wants for Deshaun, give him that. Everybody else, no. But if whatever Houston wants for Deshaun, give it to him. And then build your team through free agency or build it in the draft next year. But whatever they want for that guy, give it to him. Give it to them.
Then just
what do you want for him? You can have it. You can have everybody except Najee, TJ. I mean, even Minka. If they want Minka, you got to give up Minka to get Deshaun.
I mean,
as much as that kills me.
Pittsburgh dealt with Big Ben and his extracurriculars, so I mean, Deshaun makes sense.
25-year-old franchise quarterback with skills, like legit skills. You got to give it up, but you can't give up TJ or Najee Harris. I don't think.
Yeah, you got to ke'p Najee. Najee was,
because I went for all these freaking years where Pittsburgh would not draft a Bama player. They passed on Eddie Lacy for Le'Veon Bell, which was the right choice because they both flamed out. But
Eddie loved his China food.
They passed on C.J. Mosley for Ryan Shazier. I thought C.J. Mosley was the most NFL-ready linebacker I'd ever seen, and they passed on him, and then he went to the Ravens. And it
was great there, and it was great in New York this year.
Yes, he would have been fantastic in Pittsburgh. They passed on Reuben Foster for T.J. Watt, which was the right choice, obviously.
Right, yeah.
But at the time, Reuben Foster was the best linebacker I'd ever seen at Alabama his last year there. As good as Rowe was, as good as Reggie Ragland was, as good as C.J. Mosley was, Reuben Foster was a wrecking ball that last year in Tuscaloosa. He was the best I'd ever seen.
I'm mad Rolando McClain couldn't get his stuff together for the Raiders, man.
Me either.
Rolando McClain, that highlight of him suplexing Danny Amendola
was the best.
Is one of my favorite highlights in NFL history. There's every ref on the field threw their flag, and he's just like,
didn't care. Didn't care.
Raiders fans in Oakland loved it.
Yes, he was a Raider, man. He would have fit good in there, but he just couldn't. He just lost his mind and couldn't get his stuff together. But Reuben Foster, that year we lost to Clemson in the championship game, he was the best linebacker I'd ever seen play with my own two eyes. Like, he was everywhere, every play. He was whacking Deshaun Watson and helicoptering him in midair. Like, he was everywhere. And then we couldn't complete a pass in the second half and lost the game, except the one to Garrett Dieter. I hope he dies of gonorrhea. Like, that guy,
Alabama,
he did nothing all year except the one pass.
Receivers.
Yes, the one pass they threw to him, he dropped it. Slade going to the NFL draft. That's funny.
That's hilarious.
Maybe
the Patriots are going to take him and make him the next
Edelman, Wes Welker. Except he's a step and a half slower than both those guys. And Brady's not the quarterback, although Mac Jones is. So maybe that'll be a little connection there. But whatever. But yeah, I was wanting Pittsburgh to take Reuben Foster, and they took T.J. Watt instead. And I was mad that day, like they took T.J. Watt. Of course, I'll gladly eat crow there because T.J. Watt's a freak. So Tomlin has been right every time. And then they finally took Najee in this draft this year. I got a video that I recorded because my cousin lives up in Pennsylvania, is a big Steeler fan like me. My cousin, his daughter. So we recorded ourselves when they drafted Najee, like leading up to that pick. So when they finally picked Najee, I could like celebrate like I got picked because they finally picked like a legit Alabama player, not just a guy later in the rounds or off the free agent, whatever, or in a trade. Like when they got Minka, they literally drafted Najee Harris from Alabama, and I was so pumped. I bought his jersey the next day. I ordered his jersey the next day, and it came several weeks later because I hadn't assigned numbers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
but it came a while later. But I was so happy, and then he had a pretty good year. It wasn't great, no blocking.
Yeah, that line was trash. He did what he could with what he had.
Awful. But he still ran for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. Got 0 Rookie of the Year votes, by the way. Not a single one. They all went to Jamar Chase, and Mac Jones got a couple. But he didn't even get on the top 5 list. And I thought that was a crime. But I digress. Maybe a little bias there. So yeah, but I don't know.
Got to make the playoff team votes.
Yeah, I don't know who they're going to – I don't know who they're going to take, who they're going to get to play quarterback. They don't know. We're all just sitting around waiting. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's our score looking like in Tennessee? I'm sorry, Florida.
Arkansas is up 4 right now. Florida has the ball. There's about 3:50 to go in this game. Looks like Appleby just got fouled.
Okay.
So he'll be going to the line. If he can hit both, it'll be a 2-point game. That foul was pretty flagrant. They're getting it's getting a little testy.
A little chippy.
Castleton, actually. I thought it was.
Maybe they'll go to the table and spend 10 real-time minutes.
Yeah, literally give all the momentum to the other team.
Technical. I'll never understand that. And then they go, and then you're watching the replay. And it was just a couple basketball players just bumping up and whatever. Just a couple guys grinding, battling.
Yeah.
Whatever. And then they stop the game for 10 minutes.
Over the smallest of things. Like he just literally put his hand out. And
then he goes technical on red number 2 for extending his arm. And I was like, what? Did they honestly just review that for 10 minutes and tee him up and say extending his arm? Like, what? Killed our entire momentum. I think they came out of that. Kentucky won like a 12-2 run after that to close out the half.
Classic rupperies, man. Classic rupperies
were in full effect. And then they had, 3 fouls called them in the second half? 3?
7 for the whole game with how aggressively they were playing us on defense.
How in the world does a conference game have only 7 fouls on one team? It's ridiculous. Preposterous. Completely preposterous. Is that Arkansas-Florida game on the same channel as the Bama-Vandy game?
No, this is on ESPN2. Bama-Vandy will be on SEC Network.
The SEC, okay. Because that game always bleeds over, and then they have to wait to start it, or it'll say starting on ESPN News or something. So
yeah.
So if Bama can win 3 out of these next 4, we'll be sitting at 10-8.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, sitting at 10-8, probably a 5 or 6 seed, and then we'll have to play the game day 2 of the tournament.
Yeah, we somehow moved up 1 in the AP poll after losing to Kentucky.
After losing, I know, right?
Quality loss. Quality loss.
When we were in the top 10, the first game we lost, they dropped us to 19.
Yeah.
So it's like they couldn't wait to get us out of there.
I feel like the AP poll. I feel like everyone they poll for the AP is drunk every time they vote. I feel like they only watch half the games.
I think you're right. I don't understand some of the polling. I try not to pay attention to polls really because
Ken Palm is the only thing I pay attention to.
Yeah, because the rest of them just really annoy me. And then they start these tournament projections weeks out when there's 7, 8, 9 regular season games left plus a conference tournament.
Yeah,
it's
they're just trying to put content out. They're trying to get clues. Trying to make
it's
their money.
the college football playoff.
Having the show reveal. Halfway through the
in week 7, here's our first reveal. 3 of the top 4 teams all play each other, but here's their first reveal.
Only one of these teams is actually going to make it in the end, but we're going to put Oklahoma State in the top 4 or something like.
They did it 3 weeks, and then Alabama, LSU were playing in 2 weeks, and they're give me a break. So let's assume Arkansas pulls that one out. Let's assume Kentucky wins at Rupp tomorrow night, and then Auburn wins at Ole Miss. So everybody will stay within a game of each other, and Tennessee will win. So I think the top 4 seeds are locked with Auburn, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee.
Yeah,
I think those are the 4 locks, easy for the top 4 seeds in the conference tourney.
I think Bama can get up to 5th in the SEC, but that's if everything goes well.
Yeah, we've got to win at least 3 out of the last 4, which will mean a road game either tonight or
at LSU.
At LSU, the last game of the season. we should not lose at home to the I call him the murderer, the South Carolina coach, because he looks like a mob guy that's going to kill everybody that talks to him.
Oh yeah.
So I just call him the murderer, and then whatever Texas A&M brings. But we shouldn't lose those two games at home.
A&M is beating Georgia right now by 12 with about 2 minutes to go.
Just like everybody else.
Yeah,
except
exactly.
for one squad that couldn't do that. But
hey man,
whatever.
that half full Athens crowd just really got in our heads.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you. Throwing up bricks, man, busting the rim in. There's my mom jumping in on the comments. I guess you heard me say bad words. The first show I did, I said a couple bad words, and she texted me with a count of how many bad words I said. So
Okay,
it's like,
it's okay, Mom. We met at church.
Yeah. So from now on, if it's going to be a hype show, I'll be like, Mom, you might want to tune this one out because we might get rowdy talking about this. If it's another ruppery game like that, we might be a little rowdy here. So anyway,
yeah, I'm just curious how many more of these beers this Alabama game is going to make me crush before I go to bed.
It's a road game. You might crush a few, especially at Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah, it might get ugly.
It might get ugly. We have not had many pretty games at that stadium, at that arena in Nashville. Hopefully tonight will be. Hopefully they'll come out tonight and hear Coach, and play with some heart, play with some guts, play with some fortitude, man. Like grab their sack and say, hey, no more. So we'll see.
We'll see.
We shall see. Well, we're hitting 8:00, brother. So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. Like I said, we're just a little small thing, just having a good time talking sports. So, dude, it was good to chat with you again, man.
Of course.
Thank you again for hanging out with me. And roll Tide, brother.
Roll Tide.
Take care, man. See you, everyone.
Yes, sir.